Hi folks, and welcome to the Filmlook channel. And I'm in the spring woods here, and it's pretty lovely outside. It's warm, and well, I actually did need that pretty bad this year. Today I want to talk to you about, some kind of an icon, and what I'm talking about is the classic Opinel knife. It's a folding knife, and I want to start with one. They come in several sizes, and this is the classic one. There are other models as well with a new form of mechanism, not a locking mechanism, the new ones, and they are catering for knife laws. And the new ones are basically children's knife with a little bit more dangerous layout. And I don't want to discuss this, or I just want to say, well, I don't believe in knives that don't have a tip, because even for a kid's knife, by the way, and I did workshops with kids and taught them how to carve, and first thing is that for a lot of techniques you need a tip. For instance, if you want to drill or something like this, or you really want to make some fine details or something, and well, you need to learn how to use a knife safely. And personally, I am of the opinion that you have to talk to kids constantly, and you have to live an example. And the thing is, I'm not naive. I know that pretty much that knives are used for bad things and bad intent and what have you. But it's not the knife that hurts people, but it's always the hand that uses the knife. And so I don't believe in changing a knife, but I believe in changing the human being that uses a knife. And this is something that's a constant process also for myself. This is a process of asking myself constantly, is it really worth the ruckus? Is it really worth getting mad at people? And well, it's pretty hard to do actually, and I know that, and so I understand that people would say, well, change the object, not because changing the human being or the society is pretty hard. And well, you need to set an example. In Germany we have a saying that goes like, wie der Herr, so ist Scher, which loosely translates to how the master is, that way are the dishes. Meaning, if the master isn't clean, the dishes won't be clean either. Which means that if someone who is in charge, who is the leader, isn't having a certain amount of integrity, well, the rest of the household or the country won't have as much integrity either, or dignity, and if the master is inherently violent, then the populace will also be. And I think this should be enough for now for commenting on that. I don't think that, personally, I haven't tried it, to be fair, and I don't think that the new Neo line of Opinel is doing them a favor. What is actually something that everyone who's interested in crafting or going out in the woods and doing lighter bushcraft tasks and should think about is the classical Opinel with a Viro block. The knife was originally invented by Joseph Opinel, I think in 1800, I don't know, in the 19th century. From a really classical knife that was in use in the Savoyen region of France for, I think, for ages, because basically this knife is a friction folder, and if you would remove the Viro block, which is the locking ring, as it is called, you would see just a collar and a rivet, and there is this beechwood handle with a slot sawed in, and a really nice ergonomic shape. Most of you guys might already know this knife, so I don't want to insult you by explaining everything twice or something. But there might also some people who are new to the topic, so I want to explain something, or maybe you haven't heard it already. And well, essentially there are 4 parts in this knife, which makes it surprisingly robust. And while the Viro block is not a modern locking mechanism, it is not monster backlock or something like a ball detent or something. This is turning your knife if you really clamp it tight, and while not clamping it too tight, and taking a little bit of care for it, into a fixed blade with a pretty short tang, but it's also surprisingly resilient when you are prying or what have you. This is not a knife for pattern. This is not a knife for prying something. You can actually use it to harvest chaga, for instance, or mushrooms, and it's pretty resilient, given that the blade is pretty thin. It's just 2 millimeters, I think, or not even. Well, this is the number 7. They come in several sizes, and this translates to a roughly 8 centimeter long blade. And what the knives sometimes do have are some issues with when the handle gets wet and it swells up. Then you have a little bit of a difficulty to get out the blade. And often you hear some hacks on the webs, and I tried it myself, by the way, and I can show you, because this is my number 9, which has a roughly 85 millimeter long blade, and I tried a hack you've seen on the internet with it, and I deep fried the handle, and well, it still gets wet, and if it gets wet, then it swells up. And what you should do is you should keep the handle well oiled, which I always recommend. Maybe use some varnish on the blade, not on the blade, on the handle, and renew that layer of finish to this knife. This actually is the number 7, and this is a pretty famous model, because it was, I think it was the 6 or the 7, was the personal knife of Pablo Picasso, and he used it for a lot of stuff, as I hear. Actually, those are anecdotes, and but I imagine that he used it to scrape paint from, cut his brushes or what have you. And he also did some carvings, what few people know, and he used this knife for it. And actually, this is something that I find intriguing with the modern bushcraft mindset or what have you, or survival community. This was his personal knife, and he used it all his life. And this was the only knife he had. And apart from, I imagine he had some kitchen knives, but not pocket knives. This was the only knife he used for everything. And this is actually telling a tale apart from the story, if you get my meaning right. This is a knife that a lot of survivalists look down on. And to be honest, it's not the most robust knife on the planet. That's not true. But it's a pretty basic knife. And I have had blades bending at the tip and like that, and this is not something that's going to last you through a lot of abuse. It's a knife that you get in your pocket and that you use to cut stuff. And as I said, this is the basic number 7, and I believe it was the size that Pablo Picasso carried in his pocket. I'm putting that away, and it is pretty. What I find it personally intriguing is how easy you can make it your own. And if you look at the knife you have already seen, this is the number 9, which to me is a pretty awesome size for the width. If you look at that, it's got this one. The last one had a stainless steel blade, which is different to the one Pablo Picasso used, as I said. And I did a bluing finish on that, and I deep fried the handle. And this is well, with just like that, you can make it your own, and there's no other knife on the planet that looks like that, apart from the case when you do the same to your knife. But I believe you will best me. So, and I hope you do. The carbon steel blade is absolutely a laser, and the knives, the blades are ground to a really, really thin finish, and are actually a joy to use when carving wood. And they do have a sort of a convex bevel to almost 0. There is maybe, well, what is it, 0.1 millimeter, 0.1 millimeter, not centimeter, above the edge when thickness is concerned. And it's well, it really makes fine locks, fine shavings, making it also pretty much suited for firecraft and like that. And another one that's on me today is it's not on me today, it's just that I want to show you, is because the handles also come in different woods. And this is a stainless blade with a number 9 size, meaning it's roughly 85 to 90 millimeters long. And this is actually a knife that's on me. That's my snacking knife, and because it's for snacking, there are a few better knives, or for food prep or what have you. It's a knife you can easily keep in your cooking kit, and I also use them in the kitchen quite often, because my lovely woman, we got it number 12, which is a really awesome knife for food prepping in the kitchen. And if you keep it in your drawer, in your kitchen drawer, it doesn't get blunt, because it gets just around the other knives or cutlery or what have you. And I really love this oak. This is still in standard condition, but you can already see some lovely grain on that. Talking of the oak, I also have one on me. As I said, not on me, I don't carry that much knives usually. I do carry several knives on me, but not that much, but not that many. And this is also, this is a number 8 with an oak handle, where I removed the lacquering and simply did some used some stain and a little bit of varnish. I must redo it a little bit, and it's just like that. It's you can make it your own. And I also did a little bit of polishing, and same blade. And sometimes I think, because I've been using shorter knives more often than not in the last month, maybe that's pretty much. It's, by the way, it's the most sold size by Opinel, and I think this is, and the blade doesn't come as a surprise that it makes fine shavings and great firecraft knife too. The spine is usually pretty sharp, so you can also use it to scrape. You can see this, and this is the case on most models. And with that, you can add nice finish to the wood you are working with, or prepare some kindling for the fire, use it to scrape fat wood and stuff like that. And the Viroblock is interesting if you fold it back in, and you can, or you have to, lock it that way, so the blade doesn't come open in your pocket, or it does come open in your pocket a little bit, and you might want to put it in a sort of a little well, if you really put it all the way back, then there's no problem. It's a simple knife, and you fold it out like that. You can see what the Viroblock does. It just, actually, this is genius, I think, given the time, because it was in the 19th century, and Joseph Opinel explicitly stated that he wanted to create a cheap knife for the farmers in the vicinity and the region. And Opinel have been so successful that in the French dictionary, Opinel is used as synonymous for folding knife, and I can pretty much relate to that, because it still is pretty much of a genius knife. And what it also does is it inspires your creativity. They are pretty cheap. I think, well, I've gotten a little bit more expensive lately, what with multiple prices and and prices going up, but they still are not the most expensive knives there is. You can get them from I think it's 13 euros or something to 40-50 euros, and the basic version is some I think it's under 20 euros, and they come with a beechwood handle, and which to me it cried carve me, and this is one of the things I did. And if you go to the various Opinel forums on Facebook, say, or wherever, there are a lot of awesome artists creating works of wonder with, well, the other way around. And they are far better than I will ever be. And this is really inspiring people to go creative with the knife and really making it their own. This is a number 10, and this is a pretty grown-up outdoor knife for a roundhouse and garden. And I use it in the garden all the time, and for foraging, and for a lot of stuff. And you must be a little bit careful with the Viroblock. It's essentially a friction folder. Keep that in mind. It's not for constantly. By the way, it takes a spine rack. It's not the problem. But the thing is that it's not a modern folder. It's not a tactical folder. It's a knife for a bimbo, and for that, it is doing everything. It's you can carve little toys with it. You can use it for, as I said, for snacking, for food prep, and honestly, even for an overnighter. Because, well, the thing is, if you carry a hatchet with you and just a humble thingy like this, let's be honest, what is it what we do? We will carve maybe a tent pack, we will carve something beside the campfire, and I wish people would understand that to say survival is a shitty thing to do. If you have to say survival, then you're in a fix. And I have been in a survival situation these past years now, and with a short break when I had inherited some money, and that's not whining, by the way. I would just want to give you a perspective you might lack, because one thing is reading it on the internet or watching a survival show or what have you, but that's not reality. It's not something that is happening in reality. It's happening in real time. And you know what I have learned these past years is to focus on the good things in life. And the good things in life are not all of them are really cheap, but a lot of them are. And getting yourself a little bit of food out in a backpack, and or going foraging, and sitting on a stump, preparing yourself a nettle stew, or a nettle stew with wild garlic. I'm looking pretty much loving that. Maybe I will show you a recipe soon. Just got myself some wild garlic right now already, and maybe we'll make myself some nettle stew with wild garlic. It's really a lovely thing to make, and apart from you being in some sort of survival situation, it's not just survival food, but it's actually, I really love these recipes because they are good for you, they're good for your health, but they are also pretty tasty, and they grow abundantly. And wild herbs do have a lot of more healthy ingredients to them if you get them from the right place. That is, if you if you collect them beside the highway, that's not good for you. That's not saying that it will kill you instantly, but that's not a great thing. And but if you know where to find it, where the ground is not polluted yet, you will have a food that is healthier for you than most of the things you can get in a supermarket. Because the things you can get in the supermarket are, they are growing under circumstances that are not ideal for plants. And just like ourselves, we also grow in circumstances that are not ideal for human beings. Enough said. Well, and you know, this knife does everything. Honestly, I'm also pretty fond of the Victorinox knife, and I do own a lot of knives. And I'm just I just think around about 800 knives, including the ones I made for myself, and the prototypes, and then just trying out some Mad Notion or something that actually don't work, and that has pretty much scrap metal, but where I am too nostalgic to just toss them or make something else from them. But I noticed something lately, that I'm returning to pretty simple knives because I'm more and more working with them. Because I've been carving semi-professionally lately, and made a signpost for the sustainability center I was working with, and if you really put the hurt on your knives, then you realize what works and what doesn't. And honestly, what time has proven is pretty much hard to beat. And that's you know, there are a lot of knives around on the market that are catering to tactical needs. And then you get a serration on the blade, and I will do a video about a Victorinox soldier knife, which has a serration at the front of the blade, and I will show you what it does when you're carving. And you can still cut a piece of rope with that, if you're even though it doesn't have any serrations at all. Some say even better than with serrations. I don't know, and I haven't tried it yet. The thing is that we get it back to front, and if you focus on a tactical setting, and well, as a combat knife or for self-defense or what have you use a knife with intent or you don't. If your intent is carving something, well, that's your intent. And if you carry your knife for self-defense, your intent is to potentially lethally hurt people. There is the thing that you maybe do it in self-defense, but you don't win a knife fight. I'm not tiring to say that. You do not win a knife fight. And this is something I can only recommend, and I stated that in an earlier video, get yourself some oversized white t-shirts, put them on, get yourself some Sharpie, some maker or whatever, marker, some edding marker or something in different colors. Get your mate into the ring and put on some goggles, safety goggles, and a helmet or whatever. You can get them in a martial arts store or something. And then think your marker is a knife, like that. So, and see what happens, and where the markings are. And even if you're a trained martial artist, you will have markings all over the place, and most of them in potentially lethally regions of your body. If you get yourself in a knife fight, both opponents will bleed. It's not the question of if, but of where. If you've trained pretty hard to do this, you might be able to direct a stab or a cut or a slash to a place where it hurts a little less. But I don't think, even for a trained martial artist, it is possible to disarm a knife or what have you. And it's even worse if you, if you don't have a knife on you, obviously, or if you have a knife on you, there's always the chance that someone takes it from you and uses it against you. And that's no one who loves tactical knives or big knives for self-defense wants to hear that. But it's not going to happen. It's the shittiest idea that mankind ever invented. Shittiest idea mankind ever had. And to prove my point is that mankind has developed armor at the end of the Mesolithic age, and in the Neolithic there already was body armor, some sort of, and be it from bone or leather or something like that. That's not because people used sharp objects or something. They already had spears in the Paleolithic, and that's 2.6 million years ago. But we don't find a lot of individuals with injuries that hint of a violent conflict up to the Neolithic. And I'm referring to a lecture by Professor Müller-Karpe, who was emerited in, what was it, 2024, I think, and time flies, and who put up the theory that, and he postulates, it's not proven that, and there are already also theories against it. That's not what I want to say, but I find the theory in itself intriguing, that it was the Neolithic revolution that started to turn things into shit. And because there was no property as such in the Mesolithic. Not that people were all communists, that's not what I'm saying, but there was farming in the Mesolithic, but in a whole different manner. You, whenever you pass by the field of, say, forest grass or something, or roots or what have you, you removed what was hindering its growth and maybe cut a little bit for it, and cut off cut off what you wanted to harvest and propagated the seeds. And everyone did that because everyone understood, well, if I do this, this will prosper, and when I'm returning on my journey, I will find something to eat again. And everyone did that because everyone wanted to find something. Is a theory. We didn't live there, and there are no written documents about that. But what archaeological and ethnographic comparison evidence we do have is that it pretty much possibly worked that way. But then some guys out of the Caucasus with pretty big war hatchets came up and built a wall around the field, and everyone who came there and wanted to propagate the seeds and what have you, well, the men were slaughtered and the women were this was the advent of patriarchal society, by the way, and not pretty. Because all of a sudden, with next to no evidence for violent conflict in the Mesolithic, we got battlefields. And just to show you the dimension, at the Tolense find, there is a Neolithic battlefield excavated. We are even now having over 1,000 violently deceased individuals, and with cracked skulls and arrow wounds, arrow piercings, spare wounds, and what have you, and really battered and beaten and utterly brutal. And not in the Paleolithic, not in the Mesolithic. And we were those flatheads and the Neanderthals. Well, the thing with the Neanderthals was that the first individual we found in the Neanderthal, in the Neander Valley near Düsseldorf, here in Germany, just over the hill. Over some hills. I already rode there with my bike, and it was pretty cool. Pretty nice single trails over there. But the individual that was found there was heavily impaired, and the individual had several impairments, degenerated skeleton, joints, and most certainly was also mentally pretty much impaired, and not capable of communication. And the Neanderthals were not only capable of complex communication, they invented art. And maybe they didn't invent art, but they put it on a whole new level. A lot of the pretty intriguing cave paintings from the Stone Age possibly derived from Neanderthals, and they had pretty daft concepts of reality and perception. They invented birch tar, and this is a really, really complex thing to develop, because you need to do the step from, that birch bark is a tad sticky if I rub it in between my fingers, and use it for glue by using a dry distillation process. And I can't even fathom how they did it, because ceramics. So they maybe also invented ceramics in the process, but along the way. The stone tools are, while they are not as eloquent as those in the Neolithic or the Mesolithic are actually pretty elaborate, and there are also findings of hand axes with a fossilized shell in the middle, which has been carefully knapped out of the rock in order to preserve that little shell in the middle. So they had a pretty great sense for aesthetics, and so just in favor of the Neanderthals, or I just want to say, well, they were not flatheads, and it's maybe our culture has got it back to front, because we think that development is always something it's always getting better and more refined and more, but actually that's a little bit undercomplex, because while I am talking to a box now that is essentially magic and transferring what I'm saying into the whole wild world, and I'm also grateful for that. You cannot compare this. If you look at, say, the Neanderthals with modern glasses on, you will not find out the truth about them. You need to understand how they thought and what it meant for them. And there's a point, they didn't have a problem with climate change, because they were not influencing the habitat, and they were pretty knowledgeable when living with and from and in nature is concerned. Also in the Mesolithic cultures, and we're talking about a coexistence of Neanderthals and Homo sapiens later on, and what have you. And what I want to say is, to return to the original statement, is that human beings have developed armor for a reason, and that reason not being that knife fights are fun, or getting stabbed with a blade are fun. You don't build a shield because you think, well, I'm that great a guy and I can disarm a knife. No, you can't. So you need a shield, or some chainmail, or some, later on, obviously, or some plate armor, or what have you. And when plate armor was developed, firearms were developed. And when firearms were developed, bigger firearms were developed. And when bigger firearms were developed, we got nukes. And where's this going to end? And it's not a good thing, you know? And it all starts with you and your mate putting on a white t-shirt and trying to mark yourself with a marker. And you will understand. You will understand that it's shit. And this is actually a really, really important thing to me, because I use knives all of the time. And I'm not afraid of knives, and because no one needs to be afraid of me having a knife. And this is something I take a little bit of pride in, because actually I'm not harmless, but I'm also not harmful. And you know, there's a lot of toxic masculinity at the moment in the world. But last time I checked, I'm a man, I'm a male, and that's about it. And well, if I speak up about what's up at the moment or what have you, that's not admitting defeat, because, well, I'm still on my feet. That's not what I'm saying. I just want to tell people, well, I'm I'm not okay either. No one is okay at the moment, and we often get told, well, you get yourself up by the bootstraps and hustle a little bit more and everything will turn out okay. No, it won't, because it is designed not to work out okay, and you should not be okay. You should have a hole within yourself that you fill with buying useless stuff. That's also subject to gentrification at the moment. So if you're not okay, you're not okay. That's something, and if I can lend a hand, I will gladly will, even if I'm not okay either, because I feel you. I know how it is, and that's the thing. And I think, that's got something to do with the perception of knives in the survival community. And if you want to say survival, and I'm talking about that topic a lot because I think this is a really, really crucial problem, and it's a problem. It's not nothing that's cool. And a lot of you guys might get mad at me for that, because the authorities, and I'm not a fan of the authorities myself, but I understand how they come by the notion that knives need to be banned. I beg to differ, and since we do have democracy still, or something like that at least, I can still speak out about that if I think it's necessary. And I think, well, this is something I did all my life. Talk to kids about knives, because if you don't talk to your kids about knives, there will be others who do, and they might not have the same idea as you have, what's good for your kids. And well, I'm not someone who's bashing computer games, and I read Mein Kampf at the university, but I'm hopefully the exact opposite of a Nazi. I'm not buying into radical mindsets of the radical left either. I'm just a normal human being, and honestly, I'm a little bit, well, pissed off by all the discussions, because it's all staged. If we all get mad at each other and we don't stick together, then, well, cui bono, who will profit? And now I'm talking about politics again, and I didn't want that on my channel, and apologies, because it did happen, but I don't think it's politics. This is the thing. I think we all could do with being a little bit more harmless, and being a little bit more cute and whimsical and just nice. Just being nice to each other. That's what I want to say. And the nice things are also, hey, go out with your friends, bring a bottle of wine, do a nice picnic, sit around the campfire, maybe enjoy a beer or your favorite beverage, and have yourself something. And for that, this one is hard to beat. Or care for a garden. I can always recommend. I don't have a garden personally, unfortunately, but I really like when I'm at my lovely woman's, and she's got a really lovely terrace garden, and actually it's a hobbit hole, and I really like that. And when we are, I'm just doing the rough and tumble stuff, and she does the actual caring for the plants and what have you, and they prosper, and there are a lot of butterflies, and there are birds, and there are bees, and there's a cheeky little raccoon coming visiting sometimes, and there are birds nesting there, and it's just a tiny paradise. And if you have the opportunity to care for a garden, it's good for your soul, really. And don't just cut down things, make things grow. And this is what I want to say. And this has been done for ages, and this is something that intrigues me about the Opinel, because this is something, it's really that simple, and it has been in the pockets of hardworking people for ages. And you find some pretty hard used specimen on eBay or what have you, and with broken tips and I like that, actually, because I wouldn't buy them if they are that badly battered, but they do have a story, and they do have a history, and this is something like the Moras. They are just tools. They are tools that have been used for pretty much everyday sorts of things, down to earth things in the truest sense of the word. And this is what I would wish for people to realize, that we need to reconnect, that we need to ground ourselves on the earth again, and not in some sort of esoteric life coach way, but pretty simple. Just, get a garden, make yourself some awesome food, and get good products. And even if you're poor, it's possible to do this. And I think that in France there is still, at least amongst the elderly, there's this custom of casse-croûte, where you just come together, maybe in the lunch break, and get yourself some good food, and a little bit of cheese, and some olives, and grapes, and lovely cheese, as I said, or a sausage, and your favorite beverage, and if it's liable, they often actually drink some cidre, or even a glass of wine or something, and just enjoy life. And if it's 5 minutes over the time, well, screw that, and you can work 5 minutes overtime, all right. And I wished that people would be able to return to that, and there are factors that hinder that. Capitalism, as we have it at the moment, and I'm not criticizing capitalism per se, because I don't know enough about that, and I'm currently thinking about that myself. But the capitalism proposed by one Milton Friedman, which is, according to a lot of studies worldwide, really a lot of studies, go to the side of the United Nations, by the way, to find them, and under the topic of climate change. And the thing is, it's turning the world to shit, and maybe it is the route of the human species, and let that sink in. Possibly so, not necessarily so, and I'm not saying everything is, there's Armageddon and what have you, because that's also, get yourself a garden if you think Armageddon is on the way, and plant an apple tree, and even if Armageddon is on the way because some dipshit pumpkin over proposed this, I'm talking about politics again, and I didn't want that, sorry. but it's driving me up the wall, by the way, because I cannot talk about the good and simple things in life without seeing the opposite, and it's all too complicated. That's not, the shortest line between two destinations is a straight line, not something like that. There are times where you need to take a detour, and my life is meanders too. That's not what I'm saying, but it should happen to you, and then you need to get back on track again, on your way. I'm not saying that you need to stay on the same track all of your life. That's not what I'm saying. But I want to say, well, look at that. The sun is shining, and look at these leaves and how vibrant they are. And when I have to return in the dark, and I don't need a headlamp, because the leaves are so fluorescent. It's bioluminescence, and isn't that a wonder? Isn't that an everyday wonder? And what are we doing here? And this is what also shows itself in the stark contrast between all these knives for tactical and what have you, and something like this. Yes, it has its shortcomings. I have mine too. But if you know what it does and what it doesn't, this is honestly pretty close to being all you need in the woods. You can, and I'm pretty fond of Victorinox knives, and I really always on me, and because there's a saw, and there's some scissors, a bottle opener, tin can opener, awl and corkscrew, and also pretty great pincers and what have you, which isn't on the opener. This one is, on the other hand, hard to beat when you want to do a casse-croûte, or foraging for mushrooms, foraging for food, splitting hazel, and basket weaving, what have you. It's because locking blade, and thin and slicey, and maybe even slicier than the Vic. So, that said, I strongly believe in the good and simple things in life, and the Opinel is one of them. No, it's not a hardcore bushcraft knife, but when was the last time you, honestly, what is it what we do in the woods? In Germany at least. And, for what I do in the woods, and I think I do use my knives pretty hard. Great one. As I said, also bring one of these, and you're good to go. And there are other knives like that. That's not what I'm saying. It's not. It's something that I'm not advertising Opinel. But they are pretty hard to beat because they are just so cheap, and just so. For that price, they are pretty good. And if you're if you're a beginner and you just want to do some hiking in the woods, and you will find a lot of variety in the lineup, and you will also find some blanks with blade and Viroblock already installed. But with a bit of more beef, so you can put in your own carving, and in different woods, in olive wood, in walnut, and oak, obviously beech, and I think they even got some plum wood or something. I think that's great. It's a great craft knife. It's a great outdoor and hiking knife and what have you. It's not a hardcore battling, prying, what have you knife, and you need to care for it. Always keep a little bit of oil in your pocket, by the way. I just like to show you my little wood spirit, because I want to play with my wood spirit. The thing is, if you don't want to spend an arm and a leg to get started, this is a huge recommendation for you. As I said, it's not perfect. You need to care for it. If it gets wet, the blade gets stuck. But on the other hand, if it's dry, it really, or well lubed, there is no problem at all. That said, hope you found that halfway informative, and maybe I even could shed some new light on a really classical knife. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, thanks for being here, and take care out there. Stay sane and healthy, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.